Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals of the YouTube, T-Up here, and welcome to my stream of conscious style video on, almost got that perfectly, Mass Effect number 1! That's right, we're going through the entire trilogy, starting with the first game. And hoo boy, what a game it was. And as you can tell by this little box right here, we are looking at the remastered version. And this is one of the last PlayStation games I actually got physical copies of. In fact, I believe this was actually the last physical copy my local game store had because, well, they don't really ship these out too often these days. So, gotta pick them up while you can. Gotta get there bright and early or else they'll just sell these right out of here. Nevertheless, let us now take a look at this game, shall we? First, the story. We have our protagonist, Commander Shepard, whose appearance, gender, background, and skill class are all decided by the player. I chose male, space or war hero, and engineer. Our story starts with Shepard on a mission to test out the stealth systems of a ship known as the SSV Normandy on the human settlement Eden Prime, alongside Lieutenant Caden Alenko and Private Jenkins. It's also revealed that this alien here, a Turian by the name of Nihilus, is scouting Shepard to join his ranks as a Spectre, which is essentially a space cop with almost no oversight, which is a system that totally won't have any negative consequences in the future. Also, there's a beacon created by an extinct species known as the Protheans that we'll need to pick up. On our way to Eden Prime, we receive a distress call from the planet and Nihilus decides to go off on his own as he claims that to be his style. In our first encounter, Jenkins is immediately murdered by an AI species known as the Geth, and he was 20 years away from retirement. Shepard then meets up with Gunnery Chief Ash Williams, the sole survivor of her group after an encounter with the Geth. Following more fighting with the Geth, we're then introduced to a new enemy type, Husks, aka humans that have been synthefied by our robo-buddies. After meeting with someone with a Dragon Age reference in 2007,
humans, thank the Maker.
We see Nihilus meet up with fellow Spectre, Saren Arterius, who wastes no time at all before enacting his surprising yet inevitable betrayal. We make our way over to Nihilus' corpse, and a dock worker lets us all know about the stated events, and we're off to fight more Geth and reclaim the beacon. Everything seems to be going well until Shepard gets caught up in the beacon's grasp, giving him a vision before knocking him the absolute hell out. Shep wakes up, and we're on our way to the capital of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Citadel to bring charges against Saren to the Council. The meeting does not go well as we lack hard evidence, and Spectres are given quite a lot of leeway. Shepard is then told by Human Ambassador Udina to meet up with Citadel Security Officer, or CSEC for short, Harkin, for more information. Harkin points us towards Garrus Vakarian, a CSEC officer hell-bent on bringing down any and all criminals, so we know Saren is definitely on his shit list. Garrus gets info from the clinic doctor Michelle that the reason people were trying to unalive her is that a club owner by the name of Fist wanted to keep her from telling anyone about a Quarian who had met with Fist thanks to the good doctor. We also recruit a Krogan by the name of Erdnot Rex, but we're not going to bring him along for this specific mission for reasons I'll explain soon enough. On our way to the club, all of the guards are put on duty, but they're no match for Team Shep, and neither is Fist. He reveals that the Quarian wanted to meet up with a being known as the Shadow Broker, but only in person, except that's literally impossible as no one has ever done that, so Fist decides to have her axed. As it turns out, he's aligned with Saren, but not after a good old threatening from Shepard. If you brought Rex with you here, then he would kill Fist all the way to death. We head over to where Fist said the Quarian was meeting the broker, and alongside said Quarian, we kill the absolute fuck out of Saren's agents. This Quarian is Talizora Naraya Vasnima, and she has a recording of Saren betraying the Citadel. Also on the recording is a woman who the council names as Matriarch Benezia, who we will meet later on. Nevertheless, Saren is no longer a Spectre and Shepard is, and our protag is now tasked with taking down Saren by any means necessary. Shepard is also given the Normandy to use as his ship, which comes with its own witty pilot, Jeff Joker Moreau. Joker has brittle bone disease but worked his ass off to become the best pilot in the entire human military, known as the Alliance. From here, the player can advance the plot by tackling any of the next 3 missions in any order, which is pretty rad. My next choice is to head to some Prothean ruins to recruit the daughter of Matriarch Benezia, Liara Tassoni, an archaeologist who is a mild obsession with the Protheans. From here, we head to the snow planet of Novaria, which is filled to the brim with corporate corruption running amok. That is until Team Normandy, that's the name I'm giving them now, do their due diligence and help an undercover agent take down the most corrupt of them all here. Even in space, capitalism is hell. After that, the team heads to a nearby lab in order to confront Benezia, but as it turns out, we're not alone here, as a once extinct species, the Rachni, were brought back because a company wanted to use them as a biological weapon. People need to learn that it didn't work for Umbrella and it won't work for you. Nevertheless, after taking out more Rachni than I care to count, we make our way to Benezia, who seems to have no problem sicking her troops on her own daughter. As it turns out, she is under mind control and, in a moment of lucidity, gives a data disk to us before succumbing to said control. Following a boss fight, Benezia has one final clear moment before dying. Once again, highly recommend bringing Liara here for maximum effectiveness in the drama department. This is also where we get to make our first big decision of the game, whether or not to kill the Rachni Queen. Now me, I always let her live because she didn't really have a choice in the whole matter, so why genocide her? Why? Doesn't make sense to me. Our next trip is to the planet Pharos, which hosts the colony of Zeus Hope that is under attack from the Geth. After clearing them out, we head out to a corporate headquarters known as Exogeny. We end up discovering that said company is using a creature known as the Thorian to mind control the residents of Zeus Hope in a test to see if they can sew off that ability somehow, and I'm starting to see a bit of a pattern here. For anyone not paying close attention, don't trust corporations, they are not your friend. Regardless, we return to ZH, knock out the residents with gas grenades except the colony leader Phi Dan, who commits suicide to keep himself from killing Shepard, then meet up with the Thorian, who reveals via an Asari clone that it gave info to Saren, who then sent the Geth to take it out. Yeah, the Geth are all over Exogeny headquarters, but don't worry, we already took them out, and in quite spectacular fashion too. We then kill the Thorian and free the captured Asari, who then gives said info to Shepard.
Embrace eternity.
From here, we're given info from the Council to head to the planet of Vermeer to meet up with the Solarian team who are sent there to gather info on Saren. We meet up with them and we land either Kaidan or Ash, I chose Kaidan, and head to Saren's laboratory. But first, we must calm down Rex because Saren wants to breed a bunch of Krogan and he is all, that sounds rad, but Shepard responds with, dude's a fascist, you want to be his puppet? And he's like, true that homie, fuck fascism. A little note from the editor regarding the Krogan. They are currently sterile due to an uprising they did, and to counteract this, the council's like, okay, you are all now inflicted with the genophage, which means they can have about 1/100th of the babies they used to. The rest come out stillborn, so that's a lovely little bit of species relations for you. Upon arriving at the facility, we head to Saren's secret area, which houses another beacon, and what's this? A talking ship? No, this is Sovereign, a Reaper, aka a giant ship from the first mission, and it not only is sentient, but a species that 50,000 years ago wiped out the Protheans. Following that, we head to the center of the facility to plant a nuke, but while setting it up, Kaidan gets overwhelmed by Geth and Ash stays behind to arm the bomb. While halfway to rescuing Kaidan, Ash then gets overwhelmed as well, and we must decide which one to save. This is honestly always a tough decision, so I flipped a coin, and congrats Kaidan, luck loves you today. We also have a boss fight against Saren, but he manages to get away following a cutscene punch to the face. Afterwards, we barely escape with everyone sans Ash, who manages to set off the nuke in her dying moments.
Alright everybody, hang on!
We then head back to the Citadel as the Council is arranging to take Saren down once and for all by just having some ships guard the immediate area, and when we make a scene, our ship gets grounded. Thanks to our only ally on the station / father figure David Anderson, played by Keith David by the way, helping us out, we're able to head out to the planet Ilos to stop Saren. It's here where we meet a hologram by the name of Vigil, which exposits the fuck out of us by letting us know that Sovereign is planning on using the Citadel to bring back a whole bunch of Reapers to our galaxy from whatever faraway place they're waiting at. And with the data disk from Vigil received, we're off to return to the Citadel for our final confrontation with Saren. Gotta say, this place has clearly seen some better days. Thanks to Shepard having the gift of gab, we're able to talk Saren out of his mind control. Yeah, it turns out Sovereign was actually the one doing that the whole time, and he does his best Hitler impersonation.
Shepard, thank you.
I give it an 8 out of 10. But Ozer McNozerton Sovereign takes control of Saren's corpse, resulting in our final boss battle, and afterwards, all ships converge onto Sovereign. As the saying goes, the quarterback is toast! Shepard then nominates Anderson to be the human ambassador, and we set off to do more heroic stuffs in the sequel. Overall, the plot is fairly straightforward and does a great job at introducing the player to this wonderful world created by BioWare. I also have to give props to how the characters are written. They're only in their infancy here, but even then you'll manage to find at least one favorite. Like many, Garrus and Tali are mine. You can also romance some of them, with male ships getting either Ash or Liara, and femme ships getting Kaden or Liara. This is the first mainstream game I can remember having any sort of queer romance, and BioWare would only get more queer as the years rolled on. In terms of gameplay, it's handled quite well, especially in the remaster. While not as polished as later entries, Mass Effect 1 is still above average, especially in terms of being a 2000s third-person shooter. The one mistake I often see new players make is ignoring their abilities. You have them for a reason, so use them. The one area that has aged the worst is exploration, thanks to the Mako, which is a tank that, while controlling better in the remasters, still has me pining for Andromeda's Nomad. More than anything else, the biggest fault here are the vast amounts of mountains. There's just so many, and scaling them can be the biggest of hassles. Thankfully, this is all kept to optional areas, as mandatory routes are all linear and easy to navigate. I will say though that a vast majority of my playtime was spent doing various amounts of side quests, so get used to that janky control. And yes, a lot of the interiors are reused assets, but when you remember that in the 2000s BioWare was not the big time studio, and they were clearly punching above their weight, and the fact that they're all written as well as they are really puts things into perspective. There's almost a bit of charm with how low budget the side quests are compared to the main ones, which I can't say I've ever experienced in any other game before or since. In terms of presentation, BioWare wanted to create an RPG that felt like a playable movie, and in that aspect, I feel like it's mission accomplished. They wanted their own Star Wars without dealing with the restraints that came with that IP, and I think they outdid Star Wars in every way, shape, and form. From each species having their own religion, government, political structure, homeworld, etc., 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 and the fact that it all feels organic, the world of Mass Effect really, and honestly, truly feels alive. One of the areas of Mass Effect that's always up for debate is its morality system. Instead of the usual good or evil, we have Paragon and Renegade. Basically, Paragon is pragmatic and sensible, where Renegade is more so acting with the id in mind and not really thinking as rationally. What makes it stand out from other systems is that both meters fill up independently of each other, meaning that gaining Paragon doesn't empty out Renegade, and vice versa. Another note is that humans only made first contact with aliens about 30 years prior to the start of this game, meaning we're still newcomers to the galaxy. It should be known that some species like Asari and Krogan can live for over 1,000 years, making the lifespan of humans, which Shepard notes is lucky to hit 150, somewhat quaint. Another area where Mass Effect hits it out of the park is its soundtrack, easily my favorite in the entire franchise and like top 10 overall. Jack Wall, Sam Hulick, Richard Jacques, and David Cates really created something absolutely magical here.
We are connected. Calculating transit mass and destination. Relay is hot. Acquiring approach vector. All stations secure for transit.
And shout out to the song M4 Part 2 by Fonts, which serves as the credits theme. Still top 5 credits theme for any video game. In terms of settings, my goodness, this game has some rather decent ones and one completely legendary one. I'll be honest, most areas don't do too much for me, but the one area that really hits it out of the park is the Citadel. It's the biggest area in the game, and you know this because it's separated into multiple areas via the elevators. In the original game, the elevators were the bane of many players, but here, they rule thanks to load times being cut significantly.
Do you ever regret leaving Citadel security to pursue Saren, Garrus?
Fighting a rogue Spectre with countless lives at stake and no regulations to get in the way, I'd say that beats CSEC.
I'm pleased that the imminent destruction of all organic life has improved your career opportunities.
That alone has made this not only my definitive version of the Citadel, but one of my favorite hub areas of all time. There is an expansion by the name of Bring Down the Sky, which introduces the Batarian species as a bunch of vengeance-seeking bastards trying to send an asteroid down onto a human colony. Overall, it's fine enough, nothing super amazing, but nothing offensive either. The best part for me was, I finally got a new set of armor for Tali due to Quarian armor being rather rare in this game. If I had to pick a really big negative, it'd probably be the inventory management. The amount of time the game just gives you a bunch of items dropped by enemies is beyond insanity. Overall, Mass Effect is an excellent start to the franchise. With every playthrough, I gain a deeper appreciation for it. While it may never be my personal favorite in the series, it's still awesome as hell, and I cannot recommend it enough. Seriously, if you haven't played this game and you're somehow watching this video, seriously, pick up the Legendary Edition, play this game! Especially before I spoil the next 2 games. Interesting little anecdote of how I got into this game. So, I had a friend. We were friends back in elementary school, but we only knew each other through PE class. We were never in the actual same classroom. All throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, never in the same classroom once. That was until college. Yeah, we ended up meeting back up in college of all places. Imagine that fucking gap. Elementary school friends in PE class all the way not seeing each other until college. Holy hell. And I noticed that she was listening to the Legend of Zelda soundtrack, and from there we hit it off. We became friendos, and she was like, hey, you really need to play this game Mass Effect. And I was like, maybe I will eventually one day. Until she was like, no, today you're playing Mass Effect. You're going to love it. And guess what? She was right. I played Mass Effect, and I loved it. Not sure why I do that voice there, but let's roll it. It's since become one of my favorite video game franchises, and since then, BioWare has become one of my favorite video game development studios, including Dragon Age: The Veilguard. That game fucks. If you haven't played Dragon Age: The Veilguard yet, do so, play it. That's my, I guess, short review because, oh boy, that's one of the longest games BioWare has ever made, but it was worth it. So there you go, you had 2 reviews for the price of 1. See you guys next time for Mass Effect numero 2. Should be a fun time. Hope you all have a perfect rest of your day. That is, unless you're queerphobic, then you can go fuck yourselves! Ha ha!
Shepard.
Rex?
Shepard.
Rex?
Shepard.
Rex?
Shepard.
Rex?